Right.
All set?
I think we're good.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Richard Del Toro, Assistant Chief at the Port St. Lucie Police Department. I'm joined today by Commander Casey Donnell from our Criminal Investigations Division, and we wanted to provide you an update today about the shooting involving a 2-year-old that happened on June 11th. So I'm going to read just a quick, brief prepared statement and then answer any questions you might have. But on Friday, June 11th, at approximately midnight, Port St. Lucie Police Department officers responded to the Evergreen condominium complex regarding shooting activity. Moments later, a mother and child arrived at the St. Lucie Medical Center. The child had sustained a gunshot wound to the head. The child was later transported to St. Mary's Medical Center down in Palm Beach, and we later learned the victim's mother had met our suspect, Mr. Mohammed Fayez, on social media a week before the shooting. They had not met prior to the night of the shooting. The victim's mother invited Fayez to her residence on Friday, June 11th, the night of the incident. At some point, Mr. Fayez revealed a gun from his waistband and set it somewhere in the vicinity of a table and sofa area in the victim's living room. He was told by the victim's mother, according to her, to get the weapon out of the residence, but he never did so. Short time later, the victim's mother left the room and heard a gunshot. Fayez dropped the victim and the victim's mother at St. Lucie Medical Center after the shooting and left the area without speaking to the police. He was apprehended today in Palm Beach County by detectives from the Port St. Lucie Police Department and the United States Marshals Task Force, and he was arrested based on a warrant for culpable negligence and carrying a concealed weapon without a license. Both are felonies. As of today, the 2-year-old victim is alert, conscious, and will begin therapy this week. The long-term prognosis, though, is still unclear. We want to thank our partners in law enforcement, the United States Marshals Task Force, and also our media partners for helping in this apprehension. Mr. Fayez is currently here at the police department now being interviewed by detectives as we gather more information in this case. But we're happy to answer any questions you may have about this shooting.
Did the child shoot himself?
Go ahead, Al.
Did the child shoot himself with the gun?
Yes.
How did that, can you walk us through that? How did that happen?
Well, Mr. Fayez had left the gun unsecured in a place where the child could access the weapon. It's still unclear exactly where that was. We're following up on that now. But he did get access to the weapon and unfortunately was able to discharge the weapon and with a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
What kind of weapon was it?
We're unclear right now on that.
I mean, is it a 9mm? Is it 30?
Don't know right now.
You don't know what?
No, sir.
So you recovered the gun though, right?
No, sir, we have not yet. Still working on that.
What happened to the gun?
We're still working on that. It's our first time talking to Mr. Fayez as we speak right now, so we're still working on those questions.
Did the mother meet him because they were going to date, or what was the purpose of their meeting?
We understand that they met on a social media dating app. So that was, they had talked the week before, and this was the first time they had met, was at her apartment.
Do you have the name of the child?
No, sir.
Boy or girl?
I'm not going to reveal that at this time.
Can you say again, like how they met online? I'm sorry. Was it what was it, an app?
Social
or-
media dating app. I'm not sure which
app?
app it was.
Chief, how certain are you guys that the kid shot himself or herself?
Based on the statements we've gathered so far from the victim's mother and the suspect, that's what we believe to have transpired.
And what was those statements, can you say? What were those statements that
I don't know the exact statements. I'm just summarizing for you based on what they told us. She had left the room, was told by the suspect that it was accidental, and he is talking to us right now and giving us some facts that lead us to that.
Did the wounds to the kid lead you guys to believe that as well, or where the gun was placed, or well, you guys haven't found it?
We haven't recovered the weapon, but based on some of the evidence at the scene, which I don't want to reveal as of right now, but that's what we believe to be happening, yes.
Does the suspect have any record?
I don't know that at this time.
Have any charges been filed related to this incident?
2 charges right now, the culpable negligence and the, and the carrying a concealed weapon without a license.
What had this guy been doing for 10 days, and is there anyone else that's going to be arrested for potentially helping him hide from law enforcement?
Well, to answer your first question, he's been avoiding us as we've been in contact with his family and trying to get in contact with him. He was not cooperating with us. After we obtained the warrants, obviously we've been looking for him using different techniques, and we were able to apprehend him down in Palm Beach County. As far as anybody who was aiding him, we'll have to see where the investigation leads to at this point.
Where was he when he found him in Palm Beach County?
I'm not exactly sure the exact location. I just know it was in Palm Beach County.
Okay.
What should he have done?
I think he should have waited for us that night and spoken to investigators and let us get to the bottom of this investigation. But we're going to have to try to do a lot of work right now to put the pieces together. That's what Commander Donnell and his team have been working so hard on since June 11th. We are very thankful, though, that the child is in the recovery process. So we are very thankful for that. But a lot of work to do, and a lot of good work has been done leading up to that.
Does he live in Palm Beach County?
Yes.
Does he live down there?
I believe he's from Palm Beach County,
You
correct?
know what city?
You remember off the top?
Boca.
Boca Raton.
What does he do for a living?
I'm not sure, sir.
Is he in the country legally?
What would make you think he's not in the country
Well,
legally?
It's a name that's sort of unique. It's not a name that one would associate necessarily with a United States resident, so.
I think you got a little biased on that. I don't think there's any facts that lead us to that right now, but
Okay.
just to be fair. Go ahead.
Mother face any charges?
As of right now, not right now, no.
You said they were driven to the hospital. Why didn't they call 911? Do you know?
I think probably just the,
Proximity to the hospital.
it's right across the street, the hospital, and probably thinking about the child's best interest at the time just to get him to the hospital as quick as possible with a traumatic situation like that.
Are you able to see if the gun is registered in his name, since you haven't found the weapon yet?
We're going to be working on that as part of the follow-up investigation, but right now we're just trying to gather as much information from the suspect as we can right now.
Does he have a criminal record?
I have to let Commander know that. I don't believe so.
No?
No.
Could things have worked out differently for him if he had cooperated with law enforcement from the get-go? If he had just come forward right away, never left the hospital, would that have changed his charges or?
Probably not at that point, but it definitely adds more questions as to why he didn't stick around and help us out in the investigation. And there's still, like I said, a lot left to do with the weapon recovery and things like that. So we have a lot of work to do left, but it definitely would have made things easier to piece together. He was negligent, from what we are understanding, leaving that weapon where someone else can access it. And
Without having the
harmed.
weapon, is it hard for you guys to know whether or not it was a legal weapon?
sure, I mean, you want to make sure that it is, whether it's legal or not, it's not going to change the outcome of the case. But we want to learn more about the weapon, his access to it. Just because he doesn't have a carry concealed weapons permit doesn't mean he can't have access to a firearm. He is not a convicted felon, things like that wouldn't prohibit him from having a firearm.
Did he indicate to the mother of the victim why he came to the house with a weapon?
I don't know that to be fact, if that's indeed what happened. I do know she protested to the fact of him having the weapon on him and asked him to get it out of the residence. Now what happened after that, we're not really sure, so we're going to have to follow up on that.
So to be clear, you didn't find a weapon at the residence of the infant who was shot or the place where you apprehended the suspect?
Correct.
Have you had an opportunity to search the mother's vehicle to see if it was left in there, or whatever vehicle they used to transport the child to the hospital?
I believe it was his vehicle that transported the child to the hospital, so we're in the process of locating that vehicle and doing all those related searches.
Casey, were you there with the apprehension? Were you there?
The apprehension, no.
Okay.
I know you're just talking to him now, but has he said anything to you? Has he made any statements as far as you know?
Just again, corroborating the fact that it was a negligent situation, but as far as all the details, I really don't want to get into that because we still have some follow-up to do with the victim's mother after that.
But you're certain this was pretty much accidental, not an intentional shooting?
I wouldn't say accidental. I like to use the term negligent better because, I mean, it was his negligent actions that have led to this situation. An accidental, something kind of by chance. This is something that, a reasonable person wouldn't do. So I just think it's important with gun safety to always practice, the right safety practices and make sure that you never leave a gun where anyone can access it that's not trained to handle a firearm. So.
Was there only one shot, and were there any casings found at the scene?
There was one shot, and there was a lot of evidence collected at the scene, but I don't want to state fact right now if I don't know that to be sure, so I'm not sure if the casing was recovered or not at the scene.
Was that the only child in the house at the time? Or did she have the one?
There was two children at the house, yeah.
The other one wasn't injured in it?
No, not at all.
How old is the other child?
I don't want to reveal that right now.
Okay. How do you feel about solving the case and making an arrest?
I feel great. I feel I'm very happy the fact that we took someone off the street that was involved in a situation like this with a firearm, so we can get to the bottom of it, make sure that he's not a threat to somebody else. We wanted to get the information out about him as early as we could on June 11th, just in case somebody else in law enforcement came across him on a traffic stop, or because that could be a dangerous situation for our partners in law enforcement or anybody else in the community, especially if he was worried about doing something wrong. And we wanted to make sure that we got the information out as timely as we could and get the apprehension. It's unfortunate it took this long, but we worked very hard to make sure that happened in a timely fashion.
What are the doctors saying about the long-term outlook for this child?
Looks good, but it's still unclear. The good part is that the child's alive, the child's making progress, and is beginning to start therapy. So those are all good signs long-term, but there's a long way to go.
Child
Yes.
have brain damage?
I have
Don't know.
One last question. Was he surprised in any way did he know he was in trouble?
The fact that we were in contact with family and looking for him actively, and it was out there on different media posts, that I believe he knew we were looking to ask him some questions. As far as trouble, I'm not sure, but he found that out today once he was arrested based on those warrants. So.
And to clarify, you reached out to family the day of the incident, or when?
Immediately after the incident, to try to get cooperation and find out exactly the facts and circumstances of the case.
What time did you guys arrest him today?
What time was he taken into custody?
About 2 hours.
About 2 hours ago, about 2 o'clock.
At work?
No, roadway.
Do you know what he
Traffic
was
stop.
doing?
I don't, sir. Yeah, I don't want to give you the wrong info.
Megan, do you have one last question?
I was just gonna say, what was it that finally led you guys to finding him and being able to take him under arrest?
Working with the Marshals Task Force, they use different surveillance techniques and investigative techniques, and they were able to thankfully apprehend him without incident, without anybody else getting hurt. So we're thankful for that.
You mentioned
Last
by
question.
roadway-
Yes, sir.
Yeah, last
Go ahead.
question. You mentioned by roadway that, so does that mean they is that
Traffic
what
stop.
pulled
Yeah,
him
we
over?
pulled him over, correct. Yeah.
Okay, did they use